So you guys came all the way out from Phoenix. What did you ride the tornadoes in or something? I'm trying to get the feel here.
We
got it in a kayak on the floods.
Oh, they kayaked in. Okay, yeah, there is. It's pretty way out there.
Yeah. It was kind of like Castaway, really. I guess.
We had a friend named.
We
Wilson.
landed on this island here. Had a friend named Caleb.
Wait, I'm only a volleyball?
You're just a volleyball to me.
That's all I've ever been is a volleyball. I don't even exist. I'm just a figment of your imagination hosting this podcast. Oh my god. I don't even know what to say. Welcome back, everyone, to the Cast Beyond the Wall. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and we're here to review this week's episode of Game of Thrones, The Gift, for WeGotThisCovered.com. I am joined by my co-host, normally from the desert of Arizona, but he's here in person. I'm looking him in the eye, face to face. Sir, can you introduce yourself?
Austin Lucari.
And I'm joined by his better half, his companion, his compatriot, his wife, who is like the moon and stars to his earth. Introduce yourself, please.
Bethany Lucari.
And still in the desert, for some reason, still in the desert. Sir, introduce yourself.
Daniel Stahl.
And we're really excited to talk about this week's The Gift. I find that Bethany and Austin's presence and live from my recording studio is a beautiful gift. What better gift to talk about The Gift on Game of Thrones?
This is your Christmas gift, just so you know.
No! Don't do the Christmas gift thing, okay? This is
your birthday gift.
Birthday gift. Okay, we can roll with that.
Birthday gift.
Early birthday gift.
There
we go. Beth, I have a question. I mean, obviously, Austin's been watching Game of Thrones since day one. Have you been watching alongside the entire time?
Yes, actually. Well, this is how it actually happened. Austin was watching the show, mid-season. I was started getting into it, and I said, dude, we gotta go back to the very beginning and watch, so we started over.
So you had to watch all the pornography of the first 4 episodes.
You know what? That's the HBO sex tax. I'm okay with that. You gotta pay the price
the
for
sex
a good
tax,
show.
that's true. There has to be, if it's a high-budget show, there is a sex tax.
You pay the flesh price.
Look at it. So you've been watching a long time, and have you read any of the books?
I've read the first book and half of the second book.
Okay, so
I'm super behind.
You're behind, but you have a little bit of the knowledge
bit.
Of the first season. Okay. So you're not totally out of the loop when it comes to book reading. Okay, cool. Beth, so that we can get to know you a little better, and as we always do, we're going to break the ice here. And then this week's episode, we had a pretty substantial crossover, 5 seasons in the word crossover. Tyrion Lannister met with Daenerys Targaryen, and that was holy freaking crap, that's amazing. And we're going to talk a lot more about that here in a little while. But first, it had me thinking, what is the best crossover out there in fiction? I mean, there's millions of them practically, thousands. Movies, TV, video games, there's all sorts of stuff. So I'm just wondering, what is your favorite crossover? We're going to start with you, Austin. Favorite crossover, you get to pick 2.
2. Oh, I feel that is your gift to me. I get 2 picks. First one is probably going to be one of my favorite video games of all time. And that's Marvel vs. Capcom. I think it's pretty unique in the fact that Capcom, being a game developer, and so it's their cast of original IPs and things like that, kind of clashing with the entire Marvel universe with Spider-Man and everything. And you got to really kind of see a weird dynamic of the comic book industry and the game industry really coming together in really one of the first times, I think. So that fighting game, to me, I have a lot of good memories of it. I once held, for about a month, the high score in the local arcade in Phoenix. I was very proud of that as a child.
You see your name up top, you feel like you're
right.
You feel like you're in the Wizard.
That's right.
You're I am the best gamer in the universe now.
My 3 initials were ACE because I was Ace. That was my name as a child.
And they're who the heck is Ace? I gotta beat that sucker at the arcade machine. That's
right. It really could have been anyone, because I think every single person probably used that same 3 letters. So there's that. I had a lot of fun with it. Great memories there. But to tie it back into the Game of Thrones universe as well, my second choice would be the South Park kind of Game of Thrones episode that they had.
Paladin Butters, I was hoping I could talk to you about Lady McCormick.
You mean Princess Candy, my lord?
Yeah, whatever. The little prick thinks he's Daenerys Targaryen. I need to know how to deal with him. How do they deal with the Queen of Dragons in Game of Thrones?
They don't.
Well, did you finish watching Season 3 like I asked you?
Yeah, I finished it.
So what happens when the dragons show up?
Nothing. The dragons are just still on their way. They keep promising dragons, but all I get are more floppy wieners in my face.
Butters, the key to our victory is following the Game of Thrones model exactly. I have to know what happens when the dragons show up so I know how to deal with Kenny.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Here's 2 bus tickets to New Mexico. I want you to take Sir Scott Malkinson and go seek out George R.R. Martin for answers.
Who's George R.R. Martin?
He's the guy who writes Game of Thrones, Butters. He can let us both know how to handle Kinney and if we should betray Clyde or not. Let's face it, Butters. This is really about you and me getting Xboxes. The rest are simply there to help us get through those doors.
Hey! I told you kids to stay out of my damn yard!
Do you mind? We're trying to talk here.
Yeah? Well, how come every time you talk to somebody, it's about betraying somebody else?
Why don't you mind your own business?
And that ended up tying into a game, The Stick of Truth, which is a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, you should go check it out. But yeah, I really loved that episode. I thought it was a really good crossover. South Park, of course, always great with pulling in pop culture and different things like that.
Well, George R.R. Martin even appeared in the episode.
Yep. And the book's coming, guys. It's coming.
It was funny. It was like a 3-part arc. Which for South Park's a pretty long story, right? And at the very end, the last moment, they plugged the game. It was so funny. If you go back and watch it, it was like, oh, and if you loved this episode, check out The Stick of Truth coming out to you this year. You know, that was
true
a fun
South Park fashion. It
yes.
was great. Yeah.
So it was all a giant shameless plug. Beautiful.
Well, to echo the video game route of Austin, I guess you would say Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it's a huge crossover.
Super Smash Brothers!
Me and Caleb have a lot of history playing and fighting and killing.
We almost killed each other over that game. We were roommates at one point, and he almost died. There was blood. It happened.
It was. So it gets really serious. But that would be like kind of my favorite video game crossover. And then for movies, I'm just going to have to go with a pretty easy answer. Just going to say the Avengers. Bringing all the different heroes together through... First time we've really seen this happen on this type of magnitude, where such popular characters come into one film and with all the great actors and things like that. So I'm going to go with Avengers for my favorite crossover.
Very nice. Well, I mean, the Avengers was definitely an achievement. We can debate all day long whether or not the second one lived up to the first one, but the first one, undoubtedly an achievement to get all those characters in one movie after all that build-up. Huge deal.
Yeah.
Huge deal. Set a new bar for superhero movies. But yeah, no question there. Definitely a game-changing crossover there. Now, Bethany, how about you? You have any favorite crossovers in the world?
Well, I was thinking about this question, and I couldn't think of any that I would say is my favorite, although apparently I was doing some research, and there was a Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover.
Yes!
Power Rangers in Space!
Power Rangers in Space! I remember that episode. Holy crap!
Yeah, so anyway, I think I need to go back and watch that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay.
It's when they're in the
I trust
costumes.
you. So...
Why were the Ninja Turtles in space?
I don't know.
Like, I could even buy Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers coming together, but in space?
Well, because see, they meet them on Earth, because the Power Rangers in Space is actually mostly set on Earth. They have a ship in space, and they go down to Earth. And I honestly don't remember the context, but the Ninja Turtles fight the same bad guy as them. Like, one of the bad guys goes down to the sewers or something, and then the Ninja Turtles show up.
Okay.
And then their
home turf.
Their home turf. But
Following
then,
ya.
and then I can't remember who the bad guy was, which bad guy it was, but brainwashed the Ninja Turtles, and then the Power Rangers wanted to work with them, so they went to the ship, and then the Ninja Turtles sabotaged their ship. Yeah.
By, like, shoving pizza in it?
They overwhelmed it with massive amounts of pizza. That's exactly what happened.
So I can't say that's my favorite, because I've never seen it. It sounds epic.
It's on, guys, it's on Netflix. Go watch it.
Okay.
Power Rangers in Space.
Podcast over. See you guys.
But I would like to mention my least favorite crossover.
Ooh, least favorite. You got some angst over here.
I was really upset about this.
Okay.
Simpsons and Family Guy.
Ooh.
What the hell? Seriously? Like, I hate The Simpsons, first of all. So I'm probably going to lose some. You're probably going to lose some fans.
They're better. Their best of their days was definitely behind them.
But I love Family Guy. Like, Family Guy is so funny. I mean, I guess it is kind of...
It's kind of past its prime,
It's kind of past its prime, too. But, so then they tried to revive both of them by crossing them over. And the jokes were just not even funny.
Not even
and
funny,
then
huh?
They tried to do the donut thing, and I don't know.
Was there a Homer-Peter fight? I actually didn't see this episode.
Yes, there was an epic Homer-Peter fight.
That's the best. Okay, that's all it needs.
I'm saying the Simpsons suck. What, you?
Yeah.
I'm sold.
And there was like meteors.
It was like a full chicken fight.
No.
Yes! I gotta watch it now.
It was like half the episode was just this fight.
Yeah,
and
that's a chicken fight and Family Guy.
It wasn't fun. It was stupid.
Ouch.
She's wrong, guys. Don't listen to her. It was fantastic.
I mean, the Homer-Peter fight has me sold. Even the rest of
that's
it's
the only
terrible.
reason you need to watch it. It's the only reason.
Kayla Masters, what is your favorite crossover in media?
In media, you guys have robbed me of my answers on this. I mean, Ninja Turtles was definitely a close second, but you just stuck it. No, I'm just joking. I hadn't even thought about that one. That was pretty brilliant. One of the ones, this is a kind of nostalgia trip, since Dale already said Super Smash Brothers. Another nostalgia trip way back in the years of my childhood, and this actually might be a terrible movie by all intents and purposes, but I loved it as a child, was Tall Tales. It was a Disney original movie. It crossed over Paul Bunyan, Pecos Bill, who rode the tornadoes.
Yeah.
And what's the guy's? John Henry. You know, the legendary epic black slave dude, ex-slave.
Nobody
Was
knows
there
what
a
you're
fourth
talking-
one?
No.
John Henry.
No, nobody knows what you're talking about.
John Henry, he's a legend. He's an American legend.
don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's American. He's
He
American
was
hero.
one of the strongest men in America, could pile drive a stake into the ground, the railroad tracks, in one strike with his mighty hammer.
Mm-hmm.
He was like the Thor of America.
He was. What's great, the reason they get together in true Disney fashion is because a boy lost his dad, and they're trying to help him seek vengeance.
Oh, whoa, he
was
is
good.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it's Pecos Bill.
He
Pecos
had
Bill.
a steam-powered hammer.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Which
Oh
he
my
won
goodness.
only to die in victory with his hammer in his hand, and his heart gave out from stress.
Yes,
He was his own worst enemy.
but he was epic while he was alive. Okay. Okay, so that's a great American myth there. Tall Tales #1. That's all I'm going with, because Daniel stole Super Smash Brothers. Another really good one would have been Soul Calibur 2. That's a lot of fun. Link shows up, depending on which version, and they all cross over. So with the fourth one, it was Star Wars, so Yoda and Darth Vader. With 2, it was Link on the GameCube, on the Xbox. I can't remember. It was exclusive characters.
Yeah, one of them had Kratos in it, I think.
Yeah, Kratos for the PS4. Yep, there was that. Little crossovers like that. Those are a lot of fun as far as video games go. Oh, fighting games have lots of crossovers. Here we go. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, that one was good.
That's that one's a lot more. It's pretty online. Honestly, that's Tall Tales for adults, because with this one you have more classical. They're not American and urban legends. They're more like actual figures from American literature. So you had Dorian Gray. You had the Invisible Man from H.G. Wells as the Invisible Man. You had Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, kind of Captain Nemo. All sorts of those figures kind of working together to take down the villain. Spoilers, the villain ends up being Moriarty, but they didn't know that the whole time they were fighting. Thought it was this other dude. It turns out to be Moriarty, which I thought was kind of cool. There's the movie, which I like, but apparently it's nothing compared to the graphic novel. So go check out the graphic novel. Go check out the movie. I think the movie is pretty good. I haven't checked out the graphic novel yet, but that's a great one. If you want something a little edgier than Tall Tales, lots of great crossovers this week, guys. And when Tyrion met Daenerys, he's like, holy crap! It's like 2 universes that we never thought they'd see them together have collided. Before we go ahead and go do the scene by scene breakdown, let's go ahead and move into our review discussion of The Gift.
I believe this mission to be reckless and an insult to all the brothers who have died fighting the wildlands. You're losing all your friends, Charlie.
We march to victory, or we march to defeat, but we go forward.
My family still has friends in the north.
I serve the gods. The gods demand justice.
Bethany, you're the guest host this week. We're very thrilled to have you on. What did you think? What did you think of this week's episode, The Gift?
It was good. It tied together a lot of. It actually moved the plot forward a little bit. You saw with Cersei.
I thought overall, I do actually believe this is the best episode of the season so far. I know I've gone on record in the past as saying I didn't think like anything big has really happened. I don't know that it's totally accurate. It really has maintained a high level of tension throughout the entire season, and it's like slowly trickling moments out to us, which in some ways I think has increased the overall level of the episodes. I don't think we've really had a bad episode. I think episode, 3 or 4 was a little slow.
Last episode I thought was pretty weak, I'll be honest with you. Not bad, just not as up to par. There were moments in last week's episode that were great.
Yeah. I don't know that I totally agree with that, but
I don't think there's been an episode this season that's been bad.
Yeah, and usually you'll have one where just nothing happens at all, and I don't think that's really happened yet. My point being in all this is I do think it's a very good episode. I'm still waiting on those really big moments, but I'm afraid at this point I won't be able to recognize when the really big moments occur, because I'm expecting like like Purple Wedding level of stuff.
Purple Wedding.
And I don't think that's going to occur this season.
Okay, so Austin's hot on it, Bethany's not. Daniel, how about you? What are you thinking?
This episode in particular, I tend to agree with Austin. I think this was the strongest episode of the season so far. I personally like that, last season we had an extreme amount of things happening, go down in action and things like that. I'm liking I'm actually kind of enjoying the slower pace a little bit. Don't think you could pull that off, what you pulled off last season every single season, or it'd become too much. So I like that they're actually slowing things down a little bit. I do agree this season has been slower, but I kind of like the change of pace for at least for this season anyway, as we kind of talked about, we're re-identifying, like the characters are kind of changing their identity, they're going through these new steps, and that's just going to take a little bit slower to get through.
You have to reestablish all the dynamics.
Yeah, it's almost like rebooting the series in a way.
It's a soft reboot.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, I think that's happening this season. And I'm liking the slower pace for now, especially after the craziness of last season. We needed a kind of a break from all the craziness, I think. But
I just don't think you could. I don't think on an organic level you could pull off everything you pulled off. Last season was 4 seasons worth of build up. You can't do that every season. The reason those moments meant so much is because we had been building up to them for the entire series. You can't just pull those over. That takes time and work to get to that.
So, just in general, how long is this show gonna last?
Well, the writer, the showrunners have been on record saying they want it to last 7 seasons.
So we're on season 5.
We're on season 5. HBO wants it to go longer, obviously. I mean, they condensed 2 large books into 1 season.
Which I don't understand why they did that.
pretty much caught up with the books.
No, it's good. Trust me, it's
really?
good. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying those books are bad, but they are very meandery, and there's characters that are in the books that haven't been in the show yet at this point. I mean, it's been good though. Just trust me. You would not want 2 seasons of Cersei doing what she's doing now, or
that would be really
or another season of Jon just hanging out at the wall. You know what I mean?
Not everything translates to the screen well from books. So I mean, these guys have done such a great job of adapting. Been really great.
Yeah. No, I mean, literally, Tyrion would have been wandering around for 3 seasons, just on his way to Marine.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Nobody got time for that.
I mean, there's some cool things that happen, but it's like it's for the purpose of the show. It's much better to just get there. But for the book's sake, like they're almost on every storyline, they're caught up with all the books that are out so far. There's maybe like one storyline that I can think of that's like not completely up to where the books ended yet, but they still have 3 episodes to do that. So by the end of the season, we'll be past the books, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. There's other than like there's one major storyline that I think they're intentionally holding out on that I think is going to make a comeback that we haven't seen yet. I think. Outside of that, though, like there's no way.
Does the storyline involve the Greyjoys?
Maybe, Austin. It might involve Greyjoys
because I need that in my life. I need it.
I'm not at liberty to discuss this.
The series finale, Austin, they're going to ride in from Valhalla on their Krakeny ships and stuff like that.
I like it. I
don't understand your obsession with the Greyjoys, dude.
Pirates, man.
They're pirates. They take what they need. They are the embodiment of Westeros. They are exactly what you need to survive in Westeros.
Except for
all
they
about
suck
themselves.
Yeah,
totally stuff. We don't know they suck at it. We don't know that because we haven't seen anything. They
don't do anything now.
That is a shame. It's a crying shame that we have not had more Greyjoys.
I have a feeling we're going to see more Greyjoys in the future, though. So, all right. So I thought the gift was. I'm in camp Austin Daniel on this one. I think this is the best episode of the season we've had so far. I will say in defense of the season, though, I am definitely Daniel. I want to echo your sentiment there. I have really enjoyed the slower pace. It is a throwback to season 1. And unlike season 1, where you have to like build the world totally, it's just spending time with these characters that, for the most part, we like. So it's slower, and that's what Game of Thrones is really all about, is spending time with the characters. Yes, those holy crap moments are amazing. Like when the happen, yes, those are like the ones you're going to remember, right? But ultimately, like these characters, it's 90% about just the dynamics, the backstabbing, the back and forth, you know, the verbal sparring, all of that. And like in season 1, if you remember, season 1, there wasn't nothing really happened until episode 6 when Viserys got the gold dumped on his head and Tyrion had his trial by combat. So I don't feel like we're too much off base from what we saw that season with this season. This episode showed that we are about to get into the matter where the chips are going to start falling with some of these storylines they've been building up to. Almost every scene in this week's episode, I was like, I wanted to cheer for. Almost every single one. Almost.
It's interesting because in the past seasons, every season you almost have like a paradigm shift, something you don't expect that really changes the dynamic of the entire show.
Right.
We haven't really had that yet.
We have, though. I feel like the lack of Tywin has really changed.
But that happened
of King's Landing. Oh, it did. But we didn't get to see the outcome of it until this season. You didn't get to see what would happen. What would happen to the Lannisters, to King's Landing, without Tywin really pulling the strings and controlling everything. And I think we can all agree it's kind of falling apart.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if that's a paradigm shift. It's more of a gradual, like, okay, he's not there, and now it's like
she's talking like a red wedding. Like all of a sudden, Robb Stark is gone, and there's no Stark story. Like
Ned Stark is gone, so Ned Stark is like who you're following primarily through the entire first season, and then he's dead.
Right.
You mean a heartbreaking moment?
Or Oberyn Martell. He shows up making you believe he's going to get justice. And
Caleb, I can't relive that pain. Don't do it to me.
Oh my God.
He's having PTSD flashbacks, guys. I can see it in his eyes.
No, Oberyn can't see with his eyes.
I wish you could have.
Hey, maybe that body underneath the covers is actually Oberyn.
There you go.
We think it's the mountain, but it's actually Oberyn.
They stitched the mountain's head onto Oberyn.
Holy crap!
Like they did Robb's wolf head on.
That's great. I think we all agree, though, the gift was probably one of the stronger episodes because finally the momentum is shifting a little. It's finally starting to shift towards leap of action. But I will say, overall the season, I've been very pleased with the slower dynamics and the character building. But let's go ahead and go do a scene-by-scene breakdown this week, guys, because there is a lot to talk about. This is a loaded episode. Great material. Beth, I want to start with you. Unfortunately, last week, one of our guest hosts was unable to join us and provide us with a slightly more feminine perspective. So I want to ask you, what did you think of the closer of last week's episode was between Sansa and Ramsay? Did you think it was too much? We'll start with that. Did you think it was too much?
No. I thought it was perfect. The problem that I've had is people are like just the masses in general are up in arms about it, and it was, disgusting, and it was disgusting. But it wasn't out of character for the characters. You expected that to happen. Everything was pointing us in that direction in terms of just the plot at that point. It was awful. It was truly, truly an awful scene, but that's Game of Thrones, and that's real life. Those types of things happen in real life. I like the fact that Game of Thrones isn't afraid to portray that in their episodes, for sure.
It's funny you mentioned that, actually. I was looking at a chart this morning of the Rotten Tomato critical ratings for the episodes of the season, and you'll see episode 1, 100%, episode 2, about 98%, episode 3, 100%, episode 4, 100%, episode 5, 100%, episode 6, down at like 60%.
Just because of that?
Yes.
I believe it was because of that scene. I mean, to Caleb's point, Caleb argued earlier that he does believe it was the weakest episode of the season. He was not the only person who felt that way, but that scene, I do think, is what contributed to that such a low rating.
There's a very vocal part of the the writing, the TV writers critical community who is very upset by it.
I guess I don't understand that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a horrible, horrible thing to have to hear. You didn't really see anything. You had to hear it happen, which I think also just added to the overall impact.
Made it more visceral.
It did. It totally... Well, you actually see Theon's face, right? I just thought that was the perfect way to portray the scene because it was much more impactful than if you would have actually seen it happen. It was a truly terrible thing, but I think that's what makes television, and this show in particular, so great, is they're willing to portray real scenarios that happen.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's great. And I certainly don't completely disagree with the sentiment. The thing that has me concerned is that this is not the first time Game of Thrones has gone to that well. We've already seen that. We saw that with Daenerys in season 1. We unwittingly saw that in season 4.
What do you mean with Daenerys in season 1?
She got raped by... Initially, she was raped by Khal. He bent her over and just didn't look at her face.
But the difference is in those scenes. So those scenes, to me, are far more offensive because the fact they show the body parts, essentially, in those scenes, there's the underlying idea that you're supposed to gain some sort of satisfaction out of those scenes. Like, that's supposed to make you excited on a sexual level, whereas this was very different.
Yeah.
I think it was far more respectful, and people will probably disagree with me, all that, but you have to at least agree that this was handled much more delicately, I think, than some of the previous scenes which we have discussed.
She's already had to deal with an emotional raping this entire thing, and I was hoping that it wouldn't happen, and she would be able to find a place where she could succeed, and maybe she will still.
Well,
but I think this like kind of rounds out the complete destruction of her life.
Well, if Caleb, if you're okay with this, we start moving into the first scene, I think, because I think this is a good segue.
Well, okay, and Beth, I don't want to mean to put you on the spotlight, but we actually were talking about this before the episode started. We were watching with some friends, and we said, "Hey, what did you think of the rape?" And you commented.
Oh, yes,
commented.
This is a good point. That's a good point. So I was saying it wasn't rape in that scene, which I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but
before you saw the opening scene of this, you saw the opening scene of this week's episode, you said, "Well, it's rapey, but it's not necessarily rape."
Right. It's rapey. That's a good term. But the problem is, it's like she knew exactly what she was getting herself into when she agreed to marry him. Back when she was with Littlefinger, and he
did give her an out a couple times.
He gave her an out.
Yeah.
And so he said, "You're going to go marry him." She knew exactly what she was getting herself into. She knew that marriage meant having sex with him, period.
And she knew that these were the people who killed her family.
Yes. And I don't think she knew how twisted he really was.
I don't think anybody was ready for that.
I don't think so either. And there's some discussion on whether Littlefinger actually knows.
Right. It's kind of weird. It's kind of ambiguous.
We don't really know.
Yeah.
You know, she knew what she was getting herself into. Now, did he have to handle her the way that he did? Of course not. So that's where it was, you can consider it rape. And I think there is a lot of just society in general, that there are a lot of women who are subjected to that kind of
because there are people arguing that that same argument that it was not rape because she was married, making the same argument. Granted, I think it means a lot more coming from you than coming from a lot of dudes who I've heard the argument from guys.
And that's the thing, like, she knew what she's getting herself into. It was rape in the fact that she was not consenting to the type of sexual experience that she wanted. And I think that happens, again, in real life. There are women who are married that can be raped by their husbands. And that's a horrible thing that people don't really talk about. I would say in that context, yes, she was not consenting to the type of sexual experience that, not that she wanted, but that was appropriate for the situation.
But your tune changed, literally, and it was funny. At the opening scene this week, though.
Oh, so when they showed the opening scene this week, and she's completely bruised from head to toe, that's different, and that's definitely rape. I mean, and that's horrible. And I think it was important for them to show that this week's episode, because it really underscored that she was being forced against her will to be in these situations.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because it had been implied it's been a little bit of a time hop since last week.
Yeah. How long?
She didn't specify, but she said he's been doing this for weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
And so kind of what I wanted to bring up was you see this in this opening scene here. You see the interaction between Theon, or Reek as he insists on being called, and Sansa. And you see two parties that have been abused by the same person.
Yeah.
And you could argue that to varying degrees. But you also see a man who has been completely broken and cannot operate anymore because of the abuse. And then you see Sansa, who has come through this type of abuse before and is able to really remain strong, remain hopeful, and try to really better her situation. Theon's completely given up. We saw that he took the candle straight to Ramsay.
I don't think giving up is the right term.
Well, here's the thing. It's different. It's hard for him to grasp, right? So they've both been abused, and I think on a psychological level, as much as Sansa has really been screwed up, on a psychological level, I mean, we saw the games Ramsay was playing with him, like he's so convinced that he can't escape because, I mean, even when his sister came to rescue him and could have saved him, he was convinced it was not true.
Yeah.
Right.
He's broken. He's a broken man.
He's broken, but I don't think he gave up. I think that his mind is so completely altered that he's now on Ramsay's side.
Right. Well, his version of reality is everything is a trap.
Yeah, that, to me, he has been destroyed by Ramsay. Sansa is not.
No.
But they've both been very similar. They've both been abused by the same. Right. And I would say that yes, she is a stronger individual.
She's a stronger person, and I think when we talk about female characters, it really highlights the fact that Sansa is much stronger than Theon in this. That she's able to come through this. We don't know what'll end up happening because as the scene progresses, you see her grab this corkscrew. So she's forming backup plans. She knows if this doesn't work, I have other plans, other things I want to do.
Well, and she knows the pressure points too. You saw her play that. She knows how to hit his punch his buttons.
And that goes back to my statement. She knew exactly what she was getting herself into. She did.
I don't know if I agree there necessarily, but my point is despite everything that he's done to her, she's still pushing him. She's still preparing herself for what's to come. The only thing is at the end of this scene, you kind of see her like, well, basically one of my plans has fallen through and it got someone hurt and killed. We'll see how that ends up affecting her and if that is what ends up breaking her or not. I don't think so. I think she's much stronger than that, and I think she's learned a lot from Littlefinger. She's going to have, much like Littlefinger, multiple things going for her at once, and she's going to keep trying to gain friends and keep trying to better her situation. Two people who are abused by the same person and totally different reactions to the situation.
Well, and I think though it does. There's a little bit. There is a hint of commentary here on abusive relationships. I don't want to get we've already talked about a lot of traumatic things this week already.
Yeah.
So we don't want to dig down this rabbit hole too much. But I do want to think that Theon is like the abused wife, right? Like there's people who are in abusive relationships who are so psychologically damaged that they can't leave. Like they can't break that. They can't break that chain.
Right.
So they think it's okay. Like he would rather turn her in because he still has that sort of like connect, like the psychological chain between the two of them is still there, and he can't break that. Whereas I don't think Sansa ever quite had that. Ramsay
she did with Joffrey.
With Joffrey, yes,
but not. So I think she learned her lesson.
That's because she was at one point she was in love with Joffrey.
God, yeah.
Versus Theon, or this guy, she's been forced to marry. It's a big difference there.
Yeah.
Before we get out of the dark, because this is deep dark territory, folks. So I promise, it's gonna be a little lighter, but. I think this is important. I think there's a very important conversation to have because I think that one of the reasons Game of Thrones is so great is because it is a reflection of these issues that we deal with in the real world. And I think it's the things that are worth talking about on this show. Yeah, it's all fun and games. It's a fun show. But the best shows have this type of these things that make you actually question and think about these types of scenarios.
Right. I really did have a strong sense that the scene from last week's episode with Sansa and Ramsay was really going to impact Theon. And I really thought that it was going to push him to actually kind of break. It doesn't seem like that's happened yet, which is actually really surprising to me, which maybe changes my feelings on the scene, but the scene from last week about Ramsay and Sansa. But I don't know, like I really feel like this was like leading up to Theon's chance. Like, I mean, I really felt like Sansa even was like, Theon, do this for me. Like this, that was like her saying to him, like, if you do this, you are forgiven. Like, if you do this, you are redeemed in my eyes. Like, just help me. I felt like Sansa was basically like saying that to him, and I really felt like this was his moment to do something. I'm really disappointed that he didn't. Now, obviously, as we just talked about, like he's in a psychological state that doesn't allow him to do that.
Right, but
I'm just trying to figure out what breaks that for him. And it has to break.
Well, does it?
I think it does.
That's and going back to the episode that my biggest complaint, more than any of the misogyny, all of the crazy politics of it was, what is this telling us and doing for us that we haven't already seen? We already know Theon's brainwashed. We already know Ramsay's a psychopath. So the intent would seem that it's to break him of his chains, but we still see that that's still there.
I think
so. It does not progress him.
I think it's to highlight the difference between Sansa and Theon.
Well, guys, great discussion. Thanks so much for not being afraid to talk about the tough topics here. There's a lot of great stuff going on. I'm still think the Winterfell storyline is one of the more compelling aspects. I mean, I think it's been a great season, but I think it's one of the more compelling storylines that we're watching this season. Just in terms of the kind of commentary it has, as well as how it's really positioning these characters in the long run here. But in the North, there were some other great storylines. One of which was Stannis.
Oh, Stannis.
Yeah, so...
Stannis.
Stannis?
That's what it is. Because this was a surprising scene. This is a scene where Austin was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I give you too much of a hard time throughout the seasons.
Yeah, I think Stannis definitely earned some points.
I don't know,
Maybe
though,
this is the first time Stannis said something that I agreed with.
So I had to watch that scene with Melisandre twice to get it. But obviously, he's planning on sacrificing his daughter.
No, he's not. No.
Well,
he shut her down.
I don't think he shut her down quite enough.
He did. He said, "Get out," basically.
Yeah, but he's thinking about it. Thinking about it. Not because he wants to do it, obviously, but because he's like, okay, if I really truly want to follow the visions,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to do this, and he's realizing he has to make a choice.
I think this is a very So this scene, I think it highlights the fact that Stannis isn't necessarily a religious fanatic. This is just a means to an end for him.
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah. Oh no, he's not a religious fanatic at all.
I don't think so.
I've never believed he's a religious fanatic.
I don't think he really believes in the religion at all. All he knows is that the things that have happened have worked. I don't think he necessarily believes in the religion necessarily. He doesn't.
He believes that it works, but he doesn't believe in
he believes in its power, but he doesn't believe in its principles. I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
He's like, didn't he like burn his brother?
No, but he did. He let that happen. That's the thing. I don't think he liked that. I think he just let it happen though because he needs Melisandre to do things for him. He's convinced that she's the key. The key, which is why I'm conflicted because I don't like him in a lot of ways because he's willing to burn people alive.
But wait, before we go into that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but prior to that moment,
yes,
you have Davos coming in.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's also a great moment. FYI.
Yeah, so Davos is coming, he's giving him the deal. He's like, hey, look, we're gonna starve out here. Winter is coming. You see the storms like getting worse and worse and worse. You have people leaving. We should go back to Castle Black and just sit there for years and years and years. And to me, Stannis did exactly what he needed to do in this situation, which is very hard for me to admit because I've never been a Stannis fan. But he's like, Davos, that's stupid.
We still have a hard march to Winterfell, and we won't be marching anywhere in this weather.
And?
This isn't our time. We should head back to Castle Black when the snow clears.
I retreated from King's Landing, Sir Davos. If I retreat again, I become the king who ran.
Your Grace.
Winter is coming. Those aren't just the stark words. That's a fact. If we march back to Castle Black, we winter at Castle Black. And who can say how many years this winter will last?
It's better to wait for the right time than risk everything.
This is the right time, and I will risk everything, because if I don't, we've lost. We march to victory, or we march to defeat. But we go forward, only forward.
Winters last how many years?
We don't know.
We don't know. So, I mean, not that Stannis isn't a young spring chicken. He could be stuck there for 10 years.
It had already been determined that Castle Black doesn't have the resources to maintain that army. People will die. They will die. So at least they're going to die in battle instead of...
Right, that's a good point.
Well, and he's being a good leader. He made a decision. He's sticking with it. He's not backing out on it. I think it's extreme. Very respectable. And I liked that scene probably more than I thought. The Melisandre scene was great too, but I like that scene even more because it really highlights how dedicated he is to his cause. What kind of leader he is. He's driven and he knows what he's got to do. And he's like, well, listen, sometimes you take a risk and it doesn't always pay off, but you have to take it sometimes. Once you make a decision, you stick with it. You can't back out. I thought that was great. Will he be willing to sacrifice his daughter? I don't think so. I don't think he does it.
Yeah.
Won't do it.
I don't think he will either.
No,
I think this is going to be his...
It is Game of Thrones, though.
I think this is going to be the thing that stops him from following Melisandre completely.
I don't say completely, but I think he draws a line.
He believes that will work.
Yes.
Because he's like, isn't there another way? Can't we use leeches? Can't we, do something else? So he fully believes, I think, that they need her blood.
Right.
And that's why she's with them, his daughter's with them to begin with.
Right. No, that's exactly why, because Melisandre, if you remember, was insistent that she come.
Of course. I still think he's debating. I don't think he's made a decision, and I would not be surprised if he went through with it.
If that happens, then Stannis loses some major points.
Stannis is back. He's back in the doghouse.
He's back. No, he's Stannis the Manus all over again.
Well, I mean, I think he would if he were to do that, he would drop to one of the most hated characters on the show.
Sacrifices his
outside
daughter.
of Ramsay and Joffrey. I think he would hit that. At least for me, he would hit that point, killing your own daughter.
I think we can go ahead and hook up to the wall where we see he's saddling up to take off, riding off into the sunset with the wildlings.
Yeehaw! Wildling West. Duros.
Wow.
Wow.
Oof. And they thought I was the pun master. Okay.
Wildling, you make my heart sing. You pull your bowstring and shoot me. Wildling.
Austin. If I recall, last season we had a discussion about Sam leaving that dragon glass, and
I thought he left it.
He had a whole freaking bag of this stuff.
Because he's smart. See, he's smart. He didn't mind dropping it because he had more. See, so he was prepared. He wasn't stupid enough to leave the dragon glass. He's like, I got more of this shit.
Basically, Caleb's saying Sam is a genius.
No, Sam is not. Why would you drop it ever? There's more White Walkers in the freaking forest. It wasn't the only one.
If a wild
That's why they had to run. Listen,
If dragonglass falls in the woods and no one's there to pick it up, is there any more dragonglass? The answer is yes. There's a whole bag of it.
Sam gives to Jon. See? Sam is a genius. He's a planner, Austin. He was not an idiot last season. I want you to take those comments from a year ago back.
No. It's still a stupid move to drop it. It makes no sense. He was smart enough to realize what actually killed the White Walker.
Are we talking about how like Sam got beat up? Or
Yes, we're gonna tell you. Hey.
We'll get there.
Hey, I'm the host here. Okay. Let's revisit this a little bit. Well, do you think this move for him to leave the wall to go with the wildlings is a good idea?
Yes. He's genius.
Is it? I think it's a good idea from the perspective of the bigger goal of trying to save the world. I think it's a bad idea if he wants to continue to be Lord Commander, which I don't think is his chief concern. But he's going to lose that.
He doesn't care about that, though, I don't think.
I mean, I do believe he cares, but I think he's more concerned with the grander picture.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
He sees this, the going to get the wildlings is a great idea, having the wildlings fight for them at the wall and protecting them against the White Walkers eventually, I think is the best idea that anyone's ever had about the White Walkers. He's actually acknowledging that there's a problem and that he's trying to fix it. However, by leaving the wall, he's going to put a lot of people in danger, and it may cause a lot of bad things to happen.
It's vulnerable, first off. Second off, people already don't... Listen, Ollie is upset about it. That should be that's a marker. Ollie is not happy about it. Just saying.
I hate.
I mean, it's like Alistair said to Sam. Like, all of Sam's friends are leaving. All the people that like are loyal to Jon are not going to be on the wall. Perhaps it will present an opportunity to prepare something for when Jon returns, or something like that. Like I don't know. So it's really dangerous. I think it's a good, in principle, it's a great idea. I just don't know if the execution is going to be successful.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that what he's trying to do is great. It's a little bit nerve wracking. That's all that's all I'm saying.
I mean, and to be honest, Jon's in a very it's a very, very tough situation to be in. These White Walkers are coming. You just got put Lord Commander where half the people hate you, and you have the wildling issue. You've got all these things going on, and he's got a really tough situation to handle.
Well, and Alistair Thorne even told him, he said, I think this is a bad idea.
Yeah. But he is taking, as I said before, Alistair Thorne's own advice, and you can't, what did he say? You can't start questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what leadership means, Lord Snow? It means that the person in charge gets second-guessed by every clever little twat with a mouth. But if he starts second-guessing himself, that's the end. For him, for the clever little twats, for everyone.
Yeah, so Alistair Thorne is a man of wisdom, and Jon Snow is just using that wisdom.
Do you think he's going to, change things a lot at the wall? And
well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Or does it really matter?
In charge.
It's gonna be exactly the same as it was
before,
when Alistair Thorne was kind of running things anyway.
I guess that's true.
But it's gonna be very cruel to Sam, Sam needs to leave.
We haven't seen White Walkers yet this season,
that's a good
and they kind of made a point to show us that Jon got the dragon glass. So, do you think that we will have an encounter with the White Walkers?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Me too, and I'm excited because
the rule of thumb. I believe the creators. I'm pretty sure I've read this somewhere. I couldn't tell you exactly where I saw it, but I think the rule of thumb is once per season, at least, with the White Walkers. But yeah, we did get to go ahead and move on to Master Aemon here. Master Aemon. He finally died. Sad. I wasn't expecting this to happen like it did. It was. I mean, he was saying that he was feeling older, but I was like, okay.
That was kind of coming for a couple seasons.
Well, okay, yes, he was one of those guys like he could die at any second, but it just happened,
So I have a question. So what was his title at?
He's the
Grand Maester
at the wall.
So he's a doctor, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So is now Sam that? Because wasn't he training under Sam?
There's nobody who's that right now.
Doctor.
No doctor.
He was in charge of all the library and everything, the knowledge.
He was
But isn't Sam taking his job now?
No.
Sam doesn't know how to do that.
Sam doesn't know how to do that.
Well, but he knows all the history and stuff because he's been reading so much. My understanding throughout the whole series was that Sam was kind of training under him.
No, he doesn't know how. No. I mean, he wants to. He said he always wanted to be a maester, but he never. He doesn't know it.
It's like he's a maester who's...
Where do you go to study maester?
The Citadel. They talked about that a couple episodes ago.
Okay, see...
Aemon passes away. Natural death. First as Daniel pointed out to us in our group chat.
Yeah.
First natural.
This is the only natural death we've had on the entire.
It is. It was confirmed. I watched the. If you actually watch the episode breakdown by the creators, they do after every episode. Which, by the way, I highly recommend people check that out. It's always interesting to get the inside of what they're going for with these scenes. They point that out. Yep, he's the first natural death we've seen on the show. And as he was passing away, there was a couple of nice little, for fans, for book readers and people who are really hardcore fans of Westeros and the history, he actually references his brother Aegon. He was known as there's a books out there called the Tales of Dunk and Egg that George R.R. Martin wrote about the adventures of Sir Duncan something or other, and Aegon Targaryen, but he went by Egg for short.
Okay, so can we have a little bit of Targaryen history lesson here for a second? So, was Aemon his older brother or younger brother?
Yeah. Aemon is Aeg's older brother.
So then why wasn't he
oldest,
king?
He chose not to. He said that in the episode.
Okay.
The first season.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what happened is instead of becoming king, he said, I don't want to do this, I'm going to go be a maester.
He wasn't the oldest.
Who was the oldest?
The Mad King, Aerys.
Oh, so Aemon is different than the Mad King.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So there's 3 brothers.
Yes.
Once Jaime killed the Mad King, it would technically have fallen to him, but he decided not to take it.
And Aegon
he
was
said
not
that
there.
He said that he wasn't right for the role, that he wasn't the person that was supposed to rule the kingdom, and he turned it down, which also might be the only person in the entire history of Game of Thrones that would actually turn that down.
So then Aegon became king?
No. Aegon was dead.
Okay.
That's when Robert Baratheon took over the throne.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And that's if you remember back in season 1, that's where he gives a speech to Jon about not, because that's when after Ned Stark gets beheaded, Aemon's like, that's when they actually do the reveal that he's a Targaryen. He's like, yeah, well, my family, my brother got stabbed in the back, and I didn't leave.
Yep. Okay. Good. See, this is good.
Yeah, that's a refresher. That's good. That's a good point to remember. I mean, that was a long time ago that we learned that information, so that's definitely a good refresher. But it was sad to see him go. He was a nice guy. He was Team Jon. Obviously, we know he voted for was the deciding factor in Jon, and he's always been kind of a good mentor figure. I'm sad to see him go, but moving on there, we mentioned earlier, Alistair Thorne makes that underhanded threat to Sam. He's like, "You're running out of friends, Tarly."
Yeah.
And then the very next scene, 2 other Night's Watch people were coming, and again, this is what irritated me: more rapey scenes. Like, those dudes are totally gonna rape Gilly.
Yeah, that was yeah, of course they were, but
it happened. I'm just saying that's what it looked like it was going that direction.
Yeah, I mean, from the looks of it, they could have raped Sam too, because he was worthless in that scene once again.
What are you talking about?
Worthless.
He took it like a man.
Yeah, well,
he just took it for his woman.
And took that beating real bad. They would have all been dead. It was not for
Austin,
our Lord and Savior, the direwolf.
That's what makes Sam so great. He knows that he is incapable of actually doing it, but he stands up anyway. That's what makes Sam so great.
He killed a Thin and a White Walker.
Like, he doesn't have the confidence in himself to do it, but he knows it's the right thing to do, so he does it anyway.
Although in that episode he's like, I killed a White Walker. Like, he was like touting all of his accomplishments to these.
And then
like,
I
think he was just trying to scare them.
He was, and then
it's
Ghost
not
showed up.
Scary, dude. Like,
well, it was when Ghost showed up right behind him as he was making that statement.
That's a good point. And I would just like to give a shout out to the direwolves. I was so excited to see Ghost, and I'm surprised why Ghost didn't go with
John.
John.
He left him there to protect Sam.
That probably is true.
John, he doesn't. They're not attached. They're not that kind of relationship. Okay, they're not attached at the hip. Okay, Ghost comes and goes. We were John was seasons without Ghost.
I know. It was so sad.
Yeah. Oh well, we actually should probably point out Sam and Gilly have a moment.
Yes.
And Sam gets some.
Oh my.
It was just a moment.
Just a moment, literally. there was a bet going on in the room. I said, "How long? 3 seconds or 30? What's he got?"
We had the over under on 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
And he made it 3 seconds.
Yep.
Good on you, Austin. Why do you have to hate Sam so much?
I do have to admit, in the beat up scene, I was a little scared that he was going to die. I felt a little bad for everything I'd said, just for a moment. Now I'm back to wanting him to die again.
You're like, what? He's gonna go.
He's like, oh, he lived. Oh,
Austin,
I don't feel bad anymore.
Austin's just upset. He's like, he's gotta go. He's gotta get eaten by dragons. That's the only way Austin will be satisfied. So,
I did feel a little bad for just a second, but let's never talk of that again.
that's in the podcast. That's the second time he's admitted to good things about Sam this year. All right, so but moving on, we need to go ahead and get moving on to Marine. Which or somewhere close to Marine anyway. Hey, this was a great plotline, guys. So first off, we witness Jorah gets auctioned off, and please go back and listen to everything Mr. Echo is saying about him, because it's kind of hilarious. He says,
"Not your usual street tough or drunken pirate. This one's a Westerosi knight from an ancient house trained in sword and lance. He fought beside the Stag King Robert on the far side of the Narrow Sea. He was first through the breach during the Siege of Spike, slaughtering 50 men with his flaming sword. He killed the great Khal Drogo in single combat. Betrayed by his woman, he sold himself into slavery to repay his debts. Bidding begins at 12 gold onyx."
and of course Tyrion says, "No, we come as a pair," and they all start laughing at him. Then he beats the crap out of the guy that guy who held him in chains. That was pretty great. I was like, chair, give him the chair, come on. You know, it was pretty great. I would beat him with a chain. Pretty great little moment for Tyrion there. So we get to catch up with Daenerys, and her and Dario are still, they're still bed mating.
They're lovers.
Where they bunk on the same bed next to each other. Roommates. They share the same body.
Ew.
I think it's an interesting conversation because I feel like Dario is only proving himself more and more untrustworthy. He's all about killing all the masters, like hardcore. She's like saying, "Hey, I need to make the city want to follow me, so we can, if we get attacked, we can actually defend
kill
it."
them all.
And he's like, "I think on the first day when we open the pits, kill them all."
I don't know what Dany needs to do to take control of the situation, but that just feels to me like a really bad idea.
Why is she even hanging out there so much anyway? Isn't her ultimate goal to get to Westeros?
Well, that's been the point of discussion all season long.
She's training.
I know. It's
She's
just
in
so
training.
stupid. That's why I don't really like
training.
I really don't like this storyline right now.
She wants to be the very best that there ever was.
They can live in my new world, or they can die in their old one.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. It's Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny.
She's not going to rule just Westeros. She's going to catch all the kingdoms.
She's gotta have a whole team of dragon Pokemon.
I don't know. I just don't get it. I'm annoyed with this storyline. It's just the only good thing about this storyline right now is Tyrion coming in.
Well, it's funny. Well, yes, that's great, and we'll definitely get to Tyrion in a second. I just want to point out too, if you guys go back and watch last season, but right before Jorah got banned, look at what he's doing. He is actually looking at the maps, planning a strategy for how they can move over.
Oh, really?
And notice.
Yeah, he was actually drawing her
because he was trying to get her out of Marine. That was his goal, and that's why his advice all pointed to that.
Yeah, and
he banished him.
Yeah.
So now he's back though, as we get to see here in this moment here. Forget Dario. Which FYI, guys, what the heck, Dario?
I can't stand that she does that. He's seriously the most untrustworthy person in her realm of people that are around her, and
well, I
agree with Beth completely. This storyline just really frustrates me.
It's just so I don't get the point. Okay,
not from a writing perspective, but from just the character perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get. It's not really in her character.
Well, I think it is in her character. I wish she would wake up and snap out of it a little bit.
Can she not get pregnant? By the way, I was wondering that. Is she because
Oh no, she can't. She
what I thought.
cannot get pregnant because
she lost the one baby.
The baby. Well,
yeah.
she sacrificed the baby spell, and then the spell that witch cast. Yeah, she
Yeah.
can't get pregnant.
Okay.
She's barren.
Pretty nice for her. I guess she can do whatever she wants.
Her and Dario.
She made it a venereal disease
Her
from
and
that guy.
Dario. Yeah. My question is, why does Dario specifically want to kill all the masters?
Because he was originally a slave.
I feel like there's I feel like he's being paid by someone to get her to kill them all. That is.
But why not?
I think that's a fair theory.
I really do. And this is not book knowledge. That I don't know exactly what his intentions are ultimately, but I feel like especially he's pushing it so hard because
Dario pushes Jorah out of the picture.
That's true. I forgot about
so
that.
So that he can be the only advisor, and Barristan dies. Dario arranges that.
Now he's trying to marry her.
So that he can be the only advisor.
Oh, dang. You guys are full-blown conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
So he can be the only advisor to Dany and push her to make decisions that he's getting paid for. Caleb, I think you're onto something.
No, but he was like, "Oh, why don't you marry me?" And she's like, well, "That's a horrible idea," but she wants to.
Oh, she does.
She totally wants to. But then What would happen if that actually happened?
Well, here's my theory is he left. I mean, he's been on her team, but he left with what's his name to go back to Young Kai.
Wait, he did?
Yeah, in between seasons. Like at the end of last season, he went with what's his name, and we don't know what transpired there.
What's his name?
Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, Lenny Kravitz. Wait, really?
Remember the last his Dar, whatever his name is, him at the very end, they left to go back to Young Kai because they were having problems with the Masters, so that his Dar could negotiate whatever happened. I don't know.
The Masters were trying to like re-slave again everything that she had undone. They were trying to put it all back into action, and so she sent the two of them to fix it.
The two most untrustworthy people in her party to negotiate things. We don't know what was discussed. I don't know if
they never brought that back around.
And they never brought that back because you see them at the beginning of the season. They come back, and he's like asking, "Oh, well, why are all the what's going on? Why are they Unsullied everywhere?" And he's like, "Well, I guess they're causing trouble." Okay. I don't know what's going on. I have a huge conspiracy theory about Dario. I think he's actually working
I do too.
For someone else. I just don't know who. I think it's someone we probably know too. I just don't know who. Because obviously he's not working for the Masters because he's trying to kill them all.
Yeah.
So he's not working for them. I'm trying to figure out. I just want to know. I feel like he's working for another party, either one we haven't met yet or one that we know. I don't know. That conspiracy.
I mean, think about how he came. Like we've brought this up several times. Just the way that he came into her, like serving her or whatever, was, oh look, she's beautiful, cut my two best friends' heads off and I'm gonna go hang out with her now.
And it was always still weird because we never saw him well no it was weird. And what I find particularly weird about that was we never saw him actually kill them. He just had their heads.
Oh yeah.
After they made that, there was the three of them sitting in that circle and they made that bet, and then he got the right coin, the coin from Bravos. And then the next thing we know, he has their heads. Like the whole setup for how he came to the picture is extremely weird, extremely vague, extremely questionable.
Yeah.
And his intentions the whole time are still. I don't know. I don't trust him. We don't have to belabor the point any longer. I just think that there's something up with him wanting to kill the Masters. I really think there's
and the marriage thing.
And the marriage thing. Oh well, she totally and knowing in the books, like from her perspective, she wants him.
Oh,
she
I know.
wants him hardcore. Like it's yeah.
He's pretty good looking.
So we get to see Lenny Kravitz and Danny. They're watching the brawl. They're watching this brawl here, where they're sitting around and they are. We get to see that the two of them are watching. Basically, they're getting the preliminaries out of the way. These men are quote unquote free men, although they're owned by slavers. They're quote unquote free men fighting to get a spot in the fighting pits.
Did you see whenever he bought Jorah and Tyrion, he throws him a coin there. That's your pay for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So technically, they're not slaves. Technically, that's how they're getting around it. Slavery is still existing in this world.
But hey, cool deal. First off, I want to say Jorah sees that Daenerys does not like seeing killing, so he goes in there and he's like the T-800 in Terminator 2, like the scene where the T-800 walks in and shoots everyone in the leg because John Connor tells him not to kill anybody. That's exactly what Jorah did. He just was knocking dudes out, smashing with helmet, not actually killing any of them.
That's a good point. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it the first time either. When I watched it the second time, I was like, oh yeah, he totally did.
He's just like get him out of the way so he can talk to her.
Because he notices that Danny is like visibly upset about the killing, so he goes in and intentionally doesn't kill anybody.
Well, they made a point of showing like they were like slitting people's throat, like very
brutally dismembering each other.
Yeah.
But no, not Jorah. Jorah walks in there like he's a BAMF for walking in there, just knocking dudes out. I freaking loved it. But then, of course, he wins the battle. He dehelmets himself, and what does Daenerys do? Get him out of my sight. Are you freaking kidding me? You've already lost. You've lost your other advisor. This dude clearly wants to come back and help you out. But then, the moment it happens, I have a gift, and Tyrion Lannister runs out. He's like, "I'm the gift. Yeah, I'm here.
I'm the gift. I'm the gift.
My name is Tyrion Lannister." Bam! Drop the mic. We've been waiting for 5 seasons for this.
Does she believe that that's actually Tyrion Lannister? Because there's lots of midgets out in the world.
I think she does. I think
so?
I think she'll buy it.
She's gonna buy it.
Listen to his voice. Like he's obviously some sort of noble. He's super well spoken. All that. Mm-hmm. That's hard to fake.
I cannot wait to see what their first full-blown conversations like. How is this interaction going to go at all? I don't even know. Like she's going to want to kill him, but he's Tyrion Lannister, so he's going to talk his way out of it somehow.
She's smart enough though. Like she's making some questionable decisions right now. And kind of a little lost, but she's smart enough to know, like, don't just kill him or get rid of him.
That's not going to happen.
No, she's not going to just kill them. I'm just saying that's what her initial reaction is going to be.
Yeah, she would.
Okay, and by the way, it's probably to Tyrion's benefit that Sir Barristan's not there.
Yes, it is because
Like, had Sarah
she needs an
Barris been
advisor.
there, like it probably could have been like, oh, that's Tyrion. You need to kill him.
I actually read something in preparation for the podcast that was why they had to kill him off.
That would make sense.
It makes sense because they had made him in the show like a very important advisor to her. And so they needed to get him out of the way so that Tyrion and...
Not to mention, Barristan probably would not have good things to say about Tyrion either.
Right, exactly. Oh, do you think so? Because he was handed the king when he was there.
No, he wasn't. He got banished before Tyrion was handed the king.
Yeah, it was right.
So he was known as...
okay.
So he was only... Barristan would know him only as the imp.
Okay.
Who causes trouble and has sex.
Yeah. So I guess everybody was a little upset that he got killed off last week.
But, now you mention it, I didn't even think about that, but that it is necessary because in the... I'm not going to straight tell you guys. Tyrion is not Daenerys in the books. He's almost there. He's like just there, but he's not there. And Barristan's still around too.
Okay.
So,
They kind of-
that makes...
Tyrion's not. Yeah, Tyrion hasn't made it to Daenerys in the books yet.
Yeah, that has to happen. Yeah, that's a really good point. But yeah, drop the mic. That we've been waiting years for this. I think we're in for some really, really good stuff. This is gonna be dynamite material. And just seeing how the personalities clash. She's so black and white, like hardcore. And he's Tyrion Lannister. Mm-hmm. And the guy's talked his way in and out of everything. So just see how he can talk to her. It'll be.
I can't wait to see that dynamic. It's going to be really good.
Our listeners out there, are you excited about this? If so, tell us why. If you have any theories on what's going to go down, please.
I mean, it's two of the biggest characters meeting up and like going to be like on screen together all the time. Like it's going to be super exciting.
Well, and I feel like Dany and Tyrion are two of the characters that probably aren't going to die suddenly. You know what I mean? They're like really driving.
Well, it's between, generally speaking, the
Like
theory, Jon, Daenerys, and Tyrion are all probably okay at all times.
Yeah.
Generally.
And I would even venture to say that, like, I mean, obviously I have a lot of frustrations with Dany and some of the decisions she makes, but Tyrion and Dany both at their hearts, like, want to try to do what's best for the kingdom, too.
Yeah.
Well, so does
like,
Jon Snow.
So
does Jon Snow. I mean, we talked about that earlier, how he may be putting his position at risk, but he's doing what he feels best for the kingdom.
Yeah, but in relative to those two are actually working together, so maybe they can find that common ground.
Right, but I'm saying Jon Snow just has not come in and formed the perfect trifecta of Westeros domination.
He's kind of way far away from them. So that could happen.
I'm just saying, be awesome.
It'd be awesome. No one would care if we got all those characters on this.
So what we're talking here is the end of the show. It ends with Dany, Jon, and Tyrion as the three leaders.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty good.
That could work.
I'd watch that. Yeah, I'd dig that. Austin, do you have any thoughts on Tyrion Lannister and Daenerys Targaryen?
I think Tyrion is probably I know I was thinking about this when we were talking about Dario a minute ago. I think he's the only person that's going to be able to identify Dario for what he is. And the question will be, how does he gain Daenerys' trust so that she will listen to him? Because he's her savior, more or less. He's the one that can guide her. Tyrion can never rule. We talked about this. Varys said that. Tyrion will never be able to, even though he'd be very good at it.
He doesn't want to, though, to be honest.
But he can help the person that can. And I think she's in desperate need of him. Hopefully he can gain her trust. I don't know what that's going to be. I guess...
What's going to take?
Proof that he killed Tywin and that he's turned his back on his family might do it.
He has a lot of information. He can share... You know what I mean?
He has a lot of information.
He can give her, like, this is what's been going on in Westeros. This is what you need to do. Kind of, like, reinvigorate her
He knows the
there.
dynamics, which is good. If she's going to invade, she's going to need to know that.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to tell her that, hey, the whole freaking kingdom's going to shit because everyone's fighting.
Yeah.
So the question is now, when does Varys show up?
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to be coming.
I don't know and again, this is straight truth. I don't know what's going on with Varys. I really don't, because he never crossed the sea. So,
I think he'll probably show up once we get them kind of readjusted back in Marine.
Varys
in the
has to arrive and say, basically, look, I smuggled Tyrion across here. I brought him.
Yes.
But I also say it's kind of fishy because it's kind of complicated because at one point he was known to actively trying to kill her. It's weird. So anyway, that'll be an interesting dynamic. I think we're in for some of the best material we've seen on Game of Thrones in a long time between these two, and I'm very, very excited. Listeners out there, what do you think? Are you excited about this Daenerys Tyrion team up?
The crossover.
Feed us, the crossover. What are your thoughts on this epic crossover? Let us know in feedback. We'll let you know where you can do that here at the end of the show. Now let's go ahead and move on to something significantly less interesting, but we have to talk about it. Dorne. We're going back to Dorne,
so annoying.
and guys, at the beginning of the season, I was so excited about what the possibilities, and literally they have dropped the ball in pretty much every category other than Bronn being amazing. Even in this scene, even in this episode, he was awesome, just because he's Bronn, right? There's really only 2 scenes. One of them being Myrcella meeting with Jaime, and go figure, she's an angsty teenager. No, I'm not going to go with you.
Love.
You don't know me. You don't understand me, Uncle Dad.
I thought about that. I wonder if Jamie's going to bring that, like, be like, I'm your father, and you're coming back with me, or something like that. Like,
no, Myrcella, I am your father.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were going to do that or not.
I don't think they're going to go that route. I
don't think so either.
Myrcella, I don't know where this is going because
That's the only thing that could save this storyline right now, frankly, because it's awful. It's the worst thing in this entire show.
And everybody was so excited at the beginning of the season, like, the
possibilities were awesome. They dropped the portrayal of the Sand Snakes, and Jaime hasn't been as interesting as he normally is, and like everything about it just is falling flat.
All we got from the Sand Snakes was a really mediocre fight scene and really great boobs.
Those were nice boobs.
It.
I'm not gonna lie, guys.
This Dorne this week is the most ridiculous display of fan service this show has ever done. It's completely insane. They purposely show boobs just for the hell of it, basically. And then a complete cop-out and not killing Bronn is like, oh, he's one of your favorite characters. He's going to stay alive.
Well, I question that, FYI. If that's the case, I am going to be really upset at the show for this. They show him getting poisoned. They go out of the way to bring up that he's getting poisoned. And then you see the effects of the poison kicking in. If there's no long-term effects of that, I'm going to be really upset because that's lazy writing. It's cheap.
That whole scene was lazy writing.
And here's the thing: like I'm not convinced that she gave him an antidote. I'm really not.
Why would they do that then?
What
would she possibly get? Why would she not just let him die?
I don't know.
Yeah, my point is, I think it was a bad cop out, and I don't understand. I don't know what else she would have given him. It was just. The whole thing is just really terrible.
And we don't have enough character development on the Sand Stakes to even really understand what their motivations are.
They just want vengeance for Oberyn.
Right, but like, there's no complexity to that at all.
Right.
So we don't really know.
And that's what I was going to say is, like, we don't really know their characters. And, I mean, she just got in a battle with him trying to kill him, and then she gives him the antidote to what she did to him. It doesn't really make sense.
But
why she would do that.
They didn't know he was going to be there, is the thing. That knife was not meant for him.
No.
I mean, I guess that's true.
And he sang her a song, come on, about a Dornishman's wife. That was pretty great, guys.
And he called her beautiful.
He did. Just not the most beautiful.
Oh my gosh, can we move past this? Because this scene was so annoying.
Hey,
I didn't want to talk about it anymore.
Those boobs could blow Alder onto the smithereens.
How's your arm now?
You seem concerned with it. You must really like me.
And how about your head?
You may fire when ready.
Commence primary ignition.
Your nose is bleeding.
It's nothing. It's the dry air.
I decided to end this week with King's Landing because, like the show, I actually fully expected this episode to end as soon as Tyrion said, "I'm Tyrion Lannister." I really thought that was where the episode was going to end. But no, we go back to King's Landing to see more. And I think it's a great way to round out the podcast, too. First scene on the agenda, though, was the High Sparrow and Olenna Tyrell. And we found out that the High Sparrow is more terrifying and powerful than we imagine. Why? Because he actually believes all this stuff. He's not gonna. There's nothing that these people can give him that he wants. Because what he wants is just. He wants actual justice for what he portrays as sins.
Yes,
right?
He wants the people to rise up and take over King's Landing in the kingdom.
Yeah, that is a fantastic point. He still has political motives, and his motives are basically he more or less wants to be in power. I mean, what you see is a situation where he wants to basically get rid of the royals and wants to place the church as the center of the universe, basically. And more or less, he is going to end up being king without the actual institution of king.
Right.
And
He actually,
and his cop out will be like, it's just what the gods want, we're a symbol of the people.
well, and this is something I actually really want to get into. This is a show I think we forget sometimes. This is a show that is about the richest of the rich, the royalty, all the political backdealings. But the show has on several occasions shown us what the average person is doing, and they're all starving. They're all suffering because there's not food. There's war. You see these. This is what the High Sparrow represents. He represents the peasants, so to speak, the plebeian, the lower class that has been generally overlooked on the show. Although when the show has demonstrated them, you see starving cities. You see people getting killed for no reason. And what he's trying to say is, I want these people. These are the people you don't think about.
But Olenna went and threatened to take away the food.
Right, but his
like, they're not going to blame me for this. They're going to blame you. And you're going to lose everything.
Yeah, but
he's got the upper hand because they're the starving people. She's the one who would be withholding resources from the poor people.
That's true.
So that's
she knows it too. She knows she lost that conversation.
Oh yeah, no, she did. She tries really hard, and I just think it's really interesting to look at the socioeconomics of Game of Thrones, that ultimately the reason that all these people are turning to the Sparrows, because the Sparrows, we get to see a little bit on the show, but it's growing across the entirety of Westeros.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So initially in the books, you get Jaime goes out, he does not go to Dorne, and you see him go visit. Lancel is not in King's Landing either.
Okay.
But he is into this whole Sparrows thing.
Okay.
And it's to show that, like, this is a religion that is growing throughout Westeros. So and now that he's actually got political power, thanks to Cersei, he's extremely dangerous because he not only is a religious figure, he's got power to actually, he could raise a revolution.
See,
don't underestimate religion and poverty, because ultimately these people in poverty are turning to religious zealotry. We get to see Cersei again. She's blinded by the prophecy, right? But we get to see her. She's drinking her own Kool-Aid so hardcore, so funny. She thinks, though, and you can see in all these scenes, she thinks she holds all the cards. She thinks she's got Tommen wrapped around her finger, and you see in this discussion between her and Tommen, she thinks that she's got the Sparrow wrapped around her finger. She thinks that she's still the queen. Even when she gets dragged away later in the episode, she says, "I am the queen." She is living in this crazy reality she's created for herself that's not remotely, she's not grounded at all. And here's what I think. I think it's extremely obvious to everyone except for maybe Tommen, because he's Tommen. But everyone else knows she's full of crap. Everyone knows that but she thinks they're buying it, right? The whole act of, oh, I'm trying to help you, I'm so sorry this happened, I can't believe they locked you up, yada yada. Everyone knows she's behind it. I think Tommen's really the only person that she has any real control over at all. I really wish Tommen would just grow a pair and say he actually threatens to like march his army down there and take it and start a war. I'm like, do it. That's the smartest thing you can do. Honestly, take down these people while they're still relatively not powerful.
Yeah, I mean, he needs a little Joffrey in his life, honestly. He needs to take charge of it, and he needs to go slaughter them. But I think at this point, it's gotten to the point that if he were to do that, he would lose complete control over the kingdom. I believe that.
The anarchy?
I believe the people are behind the Sparrows at this point, and he will lose everything if he were to do that. It's too far gone, and it's almost entirely Cersei's fault. I think it was probably heading this direction anyway, but she was the catalyst to really set this.
Again, this was a growing religion around Westeros.
Right.
The problem is she gave him political power, weaponry, like means in which for him to actually accomplish his goals. Mm-hmm. But he didn't have that before. He just had support of the people, right?
Right.
Where it's like if like a famous YouTuber got elected to some office or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's like this personality out there who's got a following all of a sudden has actual power to do something. I think the Sparrows are a huge threat that we didn't expect to see coming, but I think it makes sense and it's fitting for the world of Westeros and the people bouncing back.
She's burning the entire kingdom to the ground, just sitting in there and enjoying the warmth or something.
I don't get it. I really don't. It's funny because she was accusing Tyrion of the one that was going to burn the family's legacy. You are literally single-handedly just destroying everything.
Very quickly. It's actually impressive how fast she was able to just destroy it all.
I don't understand why she thinks that that's the best way to protect her children. The best way to protect her children is to take them back to Lannisport, or where's the...
If she really wanted to protect her children...
It's about ego.
It's the ego.
Well,
if she really wanted to protect her children, she would have let Tommen go with Marjorie.
Right.
Because he would have been much safer than... Because he is going to be, very, very soon, is going to be in extremely mortal danger.
Right.
She's locked up, and Marjorie's locked up, and Tommen has no one to tell him what to do.
She's gotten rid of all the advisors.
Yeah.
All you have there is and even Marjorie's father is
gone.
Useless.
He is useless.
He got sent away, right?
Yeah, he got sent away.
All there is the creepy maester. both creepy maesters.
Yeah. Pycelle's going to be calling the shots. Oh, God.
I guess it's interesting because it's like she's so blinded by her children in a lot of way. I mean, I think with Joffrey,
it's power. She says it's her children.
But
it's a power thing.
It's purely power.
It's a power. It's totally a power thing, and she sees her children as means to power. And she and if you get to read the books, you get to. It's really interesting. The show does a good job to articulate the best it can, but you don't. She's living in such a not in her own reality. That's not even. It's not. She's so. All these threats are just she's building around her. She doesn't see them at all. She's totally blind to it. Yeah. But anyway,
do you think like she's degraded her judgment over the past? I mean, as seasons gone on, like you think it's gotten worse? Or
I never thought she was that. She never was as good as. She was never as good as she thought she was. She pulled down Ned Stark. He's not exactly a hard guy to pull down. Let me be honest.
Yeah,
because his weaknesses are very obvious.
Right.
She thinks she's playing the big game. The real people playing the big game are Littlefinger and Varys and people who are. But she has no clue that they're even a threat.
Yeah.
She thinks they're on her side. You know what I'm saying?
Does she really think that?
Yes. There's a reason she wanted. Yeah. There's a reason she wanted Littlefinger to go back to the. I mean, she doesn't trust him, but she sees him as an ally. Speaking of Littlefinger, I think we had one scene, very fantastic. I love this scene. We got to see Littlefinger and Olenna Tyrell have the conversation, which we never actually got to see, even though the two of them plotted to take down Joffrey. We actually never got to see them have a conversation about it. So it's very, very exciting to see the two of them talk, and obviously Olenna knows what Littlefinger is. She calls him on it right there. She knows what he is. But he knows that he has something that she needs.
And that's a young man.
A young man.
But I didn't... Okay, so we need to talk about this.
Yeah, what we actually had some debate as to who the young man is.
All right, work with me here, because I'm about to go all grassy knoll on you.
Uh-oh.
Literally, there were charts in the bedroom. He had charts all over the wall, strings all over the wall, and everything like that. I was like, "Awesome, what are you doing?"
So here's what we know so far. He says, I'm going to promise you the same thing I promised Cersei, a young man. And what I think has happened here, who I think he's referring to, is Olivar, the guy who is basically the chief witness for Loras's trial. What I think he's intending on doing, and he set this all up, I think, specifically to bring Cersei down. When Cersei calls him in, he promises him basically the testimony of this kid. So he gets with Olivar and he says, hey, you got to do this, blah, blah, blah. He testifies. He gets Loras and Marjorie thrown in jail. Knowing that that is going to cause Cersei to get really arrogant, he then goes to the Tyrells and uses this as, hey, I'm going to do you a favor now. I'm going to deliver you this same person. It's going to get Marjorie and Loras out of jail, but Cersei is still going to be in there because of the testimony of Lancel. So I think that's the person he's referring to. He's the person he used his testimony against Loras and Marjorie. He's going to basically figure out a way, either kill him or make him testify that maybe Cersei forced him to do all this, or something that is basically going to free Loras. And by extension, because they have no proof that Loras was guilty, everything Marjorie said when she says he's innocent and all that can't be proven as perjury.
Right.
That's what I think's happening.
I think that's a very legitimate theory. That is not how I took that comment whatsoever.
That's a really good theory.
What did you take it?
Well, I thought
he meant John Aaron. I mean, not John Aaron.
I was like, whoa.
I was like,
oh,
the Aaron house.
The son.
Yeah.
Because remember they need the Aarons to be able to.
Well, like as a Forged alliance, he's going to marry. Because obviously the marriage between Loras and Cersei is not going to happen.
Right.
So if he's talking about marrying Robb and Aaron off to
Robin, that's his name. Yeah.
Who did he marry to?
Robin. No, I think because when the North and the Aarons came together, we took down a kingdom last time.
Right.
So maybe he's basically promising to, or Olenna, I don't remember.
Olenna's not the North, though.
Olenna's not the North either. Daniel, why do you think that?
It's just the first boy, the only boy that he has sort of in his young man, I guess, that he has like within his immediate control. That he was the first name that came to my mind of. I mean, he's up there in the Vale right now, but that's the person that he has the most control over. I mean, I didn't think about Oliver. That's a good point. But that
That's
was
a
just
good
the first.
one, Daniel. I didn't even think of that at all. I
the
totally
first one
forgot
came
about
out.
Robin.
He's forging more alliances. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I think
And that would
that's-
work with his seemingly would work with his master plan.
Yeah.
So, because what if he gets the Tyrells on his side and they I don't know.
That doesn't help. That doesn't help Marjorie or Loras. They're still in jail.
They're still in jail. Well,
I mean, you can promise Robin, I think his name is,
right,
to Marjorie, but Marjorie's still in jail. If she can't get out, then
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That was good.
We'll see. I still think that's an interesting idea. What I thought was, I automatically assumed he was talking about Lancel. Now, Lancel obviously we knew was into the whole religious kick and everything, but Littlefinger had that scene specifically to show that Littlefinger saw Lancel in the Capitol. He knew what was going on because he's Littlefinger. He knew what was going on with Lancel and Cersei. So I thought he either outed to the High Sparrow or outed to Olenna, who outed to that High Sparrow, that, hey, you should go talk to this kid about and ask him about Cersei.
Yeah, I mean, that theory hinges on whether or not you believe the things that the High Sparrow said. If you believe that when Lancel first came to him, he confessed everything that had happened, which he talks about in that scene, then I don't think Littlefinger had anything to offer the High Sparrow in that situation. I actually thought that's how Marjorie was going to get out. I thought she was going to basically plea bargain and say, this is all the proof I have on Cersei. But it doesn't seem like that. To me, it didn't seem like the High Sparrow needed anyone to get Cersei. It seemed like the day Cersei walked up to him, he already knew what he was going to do.
I agree with that.
Back in the streets of King's Landing. I think this plan was in place long before Cersei even talked to him. Because he had this information in his pocket the entire time, and he just kept stringing her along. And then Cersei gives him power, and now he's like, I am now empowered to take you down. Thank you very much.
I don't need you anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe Littlefinger had a hand in it. I tend to believe not.
I don't think Littlefinger.
That's
had
fair.
anything
I honestly
to do
don't.
with
That was just my immediate reaction. Made the most sense to me because I was trying to figure out why he hadn't dropped that information yet. And Littlefinger would know about all of that stuff that he, withholding information.
Well, it's not like the incest thing is like a big secret anymore. Like that's a very common.
Well, I mean,
rumor.
Stannis sent out sparrows,
Right.
ravens to all the cities and kingdoms.
Yeah, I mean that's something that people are actually think could be true.
Right.
By the way, I would just like to have a shout out. I think Jonathan Pryce is playing this character excellently. I think he's doing a fantastic job.
Jonathan Pryce is selling it. Like he has you eating out of his hands. He's so good.
The people who built this place didn't inflict their vanity on those who came after them, the way Baelor did with that great gilded monstrosity up there. Their faith was clean. Strip away the gold and the ornaments, knock down the statues and the pillars, and this is what remains. Something simple, solid, and true. The Tyrell's finery will be stripped away, their lies knocked down, their true hearts laid bare for all to see. And so it will be for all of us, high and low alike. What will we find when we strip away your finery?
The moment that Cersei went and talked to him, we knew that she was going to come down this way. I was not surprised at all by this. This was not shocking. It was very predictable. This is one of those storylines, and it may have been in the book, but I was just like, they were just spoon feeding it to us. It would have been way more impactful if it was a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
Out of left field.
I agree. The end result was not surprising. I think what this storyline served, and I do believe it's probably one of the best ones in this entire season. It served in more to character development for Cersei. Like I think we all knew the end result of this. How delusional
she is.
Yeah. But it really highlighted. She thought she could be Tywin, and she's not.
Not even close.
Yeah, and I think that's really what this was says for us.
She's just so stupid.
Well, that's the delusion, though. That's the delusion, though, because she even says herself in her head, and like again, book. I don't want sign books. She says, I'm better than Tywin. There's times she tells herself that. That is how delusional she is. Like she thinks she has all the cards, and she thinks she's ruling over everything.
It's just, I mean,
she thinks
Go ahead.
I mean, she thought she had just complete control, and she literally had no control. Yeah, that's like kind of what this whole storyline has shown us.
Anytime you have religion involved, you don't have control because you're putting your hand and fate in something that's a higher being, and you can just like make up God told me to do this.
But she assumes that she controls the religious zealot when she does.
Which I
no, it's very arrogant of her to think that. No, I absolutely agree. But
she has no recourse.
She underestimates. She has underestimated everyone involved here.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's like if you're going to enter in some kind, you have to have blackmail ability with everyone you come into alliance with, right?
But she sees the High Sparrow. She does not think the High Sparrow is smart enough to undermine her.
But that you're exactly right though. That's where Tywin, maybe he would have gone down this similar route. What he would have done though is had dirt on the High Sparrow to begin with.
Or a way to bring him down or bring him in line.
Like, he would have never empowered someone that he couldn't immediately destroy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. He only ally with people he could. And Tywin, honestly, I don't think Tywin would ever touch.
No, probably not. But that would have been what Littlefinger, that would have been what anyone would have done. If you're going to ally with someone, know that if they turn on you, you can destroy them.
This was a really great episode. I thought the closing out with Cersei was satisfying, and I'm with you, Beth. I don't think it was the most surprising thing, but it feels like great writing. Even though it's not as shocking, it feels like this is what it feels right. Everything about it feels right.
It feels right, but at the same, I guess it was almost like easy. I expect a little bit more depth from Game of Thrones, a little bit more something.
Okay.
So what do we think is going to happen to Cersei from now on? Like, I obviously she's going to be on trial. Will she be put to death?
No, I don't think she'll be put to death.
Daniel, me and you, flip seal. We can't talk about it.
So
you know things. Okay.
I'm very excited that something I wasn't sure was going to happen.
So beginning of the season, I predicted that Cersei was going to be one of the people who died, and it's definitely trending that direction.
I think that's such a cop out way for her to die.
Put on trial.
Putting on trial and trial to death or whatever. Like. She needs something a little bit more satisfying. I think it is a bit poetic, considering she tried to do that to Tyrion. I don't know. It just seems so.
That's pretty great. I didn't even think about that, Austin. That would be so poetic if she got put to death on trial. What she was trying to do, that would be great. I would love that.
I guess it would. It would be
trial by combat. They bring out Frank and Gregor.
Oh, that's a good point.
Who would fight? Oh man, that'd be crazy. Who would fight him?
I don't know.
Who would? Yeah,
Oberyn Martell comes back from the dead for a rematch.
White Walker Oberyn Martell.
That's right. He rides in on a White Walker horse.
Yes.
Oh man. So, anything else you guys want to say about the gift before we wrap up this week's discussion?
There's a lot of different gifts in this show. We had the gift of Tyrion. We had the gift of the boy, whatever that is. Do we have any gifts at the wall?
A lot of gifts.
The gift. Sam's virginity was a gift.
Yeah, Jon Snow gifting Ghost.
Yeah.
Lots of gifts.
Lots of gifts this season.
Yeah. Cersei hands Marjorie the venison.
That's true. That was a gift that she just discarded.
Man, Beth, you're a genius reading into this like crazy. I had no idea.
And then Bronn, the gift of life.
That's a good point. Thank you, Daniel. There was a gift in every...
This was a Christmas episode. This was the Christmas episode of Game of Thrones. That was it.
The boobs were a
and
Christmas
the
miracle.
Gets the gift of seeing Cersei thrown in jail.
We got Cersei thrown in jail and a pair of really nice boobs. Guys, I think this was the Christmas episode we all wanted.
No, but I think every scene in this episode had some kind of gift.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this was a great discussion. I was so glad to be able to talk with my co-host, one of my co-hosts in the same room.
Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for finally letting me on the show, Caleb.
What are you talking about? Okay, anyway. So yeah, it's been really great to have you guys here. We're gonna wrap out the show by prehashing next week's episode, Hard Home.
Why should the people trust a queen who can't keep her promises?
If I could do what Ramsay did to you, I would.
I will not kneel before some barefooted common and beg his forgiveness.
John's taking a risk, but he has to. We don't stand a chance otherwise.
My ancestors would spit on me if I broke bread with a crow.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick run through on the synopsis. Arya makes progress in her training. Sansa confronts an old friend. I wonder who that is. So many friends she's got left in, Winterfell.
Theon?
I mean, Theon's kind of the only one. Cersei struggles
Yeah, I bet.
The best one yet. Jon travels.
That is some revealing synopsis.
I don't even want to watch next week's episode anymore. I feel like I've been spoiled.
I already know.
Spoilers galore.
Jon's gonna travel. What's up? So my thoughts are Hardhome is a reference to the. That's if you remember. That's where.
Is that north of the wall?
That's north of the wall. Yeah. That is where. Okay, do you remember?
That's where Jon's going.
That's where Jon and Tormund are heading. That's where Jon and Tormund are heading to hopefully make an alliance with the Wildlings. And if you go ahead and watch the next time on Game of Thrones, you definitely see there's going to be some conflict there, and we get to see the Lord of Bones is back. That's cool.
I love Jon Snow's storyline right now, and like the alliance with the Wildlings. I really hated that storyline in previous seasons. I was like super bored with it. I hated the Wildlings, but it's really I love that he's trying to bring everybody together.
Well, it's finally paying off because winter is finally coming.
Exactly.
And it was cool that even in this week's episode we got to see the blizzard coming through.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was always waiting to happen. They were like, winter is coming, and we finally actually saw some and people bringing it up more. Yeah. The setting changed.
I'll say this, and the show's a little different, but in the books at this point it starts snowing in the swamplands.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like, holy crap, it feels like it's actually here because it's snowing in the southern regions.
Yeah.
So you're like, ugh.
The swamplands are kind of where...
that's where, like, Catelyn's family's from. Yeah. That's actually what I'm talking about, too. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. If you want to find us and talk to us, because I really want to hear some fan feedback. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this week's episode. It was a big week. You can always comment below on our link here at wegetthiscovered.com. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. We'll definitely check it out. You can always subscribe on iTunes. Please subscribe. Leave us a review. Ask us that you can, in your review, you can even write a question. I'll go through and look at these things every week, and I will read whatever you put down there on air. So go ahead and give us a review. I'll read it there. If you want to interact with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook.com/CastBeyondTheWall. Or you can find us on Twitter at cast_beyond_GOT. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining in. Tune in next week when we go beyond the wall. Literally.
Brothers, oh brothers, my days here are done. The Dornishman's taken my life. But what does it matter, for all men must die. And I've tasted the Dornishman's wife. I've tasted the Dornishman's wife.
The Cersei behind his Robert Baratheon.
I don't like that comparison.
Oh, okay, hold on.
That means incest. That means Caleb.
It's fitting.
Caleb,
it's fitting.
If you
shit! Oh crap!
We actually flew into Dallas and drove up here, and you welcomed us with open arms into the city of Oklahoma City with a torrential downpour.
That's what we do here. That's how we do it in Oklahoma.
It's 75 degrees and sunny in Phoenix right now.
Uh-huh.
This is a sacrifice.
Sacrifice, huh?
It's for the podcast.
I love you, Caleb.
For the podcast.
For the people.
This is for the people.
This is for the United States of podcasting. Around the world. Right here. You guys took one for the team.
Took one for the team.
Our international listeners are going to be
spent
ecstatic.
My weekend in Oklahoma City.
Which actually, because I know we have a lot of Oklahoma City listeners out there, I am surprisingly impressed by the amount of stuff there is here. We went to Midtown, we went to Bricktown, lots of great businesses, good coffee,
a lot
pizza,
of good beer.
Good beer, all around just like a really good time. So I'm very pleased.
Thank
Been a good
you,
trip.
Oklahoma City. Thank you.